This thing makes what, 800 to 1,000 horsepower depending on the tune?
Right. So fully built engine with Greddy intake manifold. You know, we did the V-mount setup for them. The cooling is a very, important issue going up to Pikes Peak.
Right.
And all the aero that was made in-house over at Evasive, they do an amazing job with the aero package. They have a lot of experience building some of these competition cars. They've been going up to Pikes Peak for, I think, 4 or 5 years now.
Right.
And successfully finished with Dai Yoshihara behind the wheel. Congratulations to them. We were able to support this program for the past couple of years with some of our components.
You got the intake manifold
Intake
here.
manifold. This one actually, it's already discontinued. We have a new one, but they wanted this the layout, and they've been using it for a few years. But with the Greddy intercooler setup, but like a competition, V-mount, so you have the radiator laid down, and the intercooler is flat, so all the air gets sucked in, but then vented out through this roof scoop to control the airflow and keep everything running cooler.
So is that better than just, say, a regular vertical mount?
Yes, so with this setup, you could vent all the air out. So, you're controlling the airflow much better.
Instead of just letting it slam into the engine and go nowhere.
But because it's competition car, you could get that kind of layout where you could have also the transmission cooler, things like that, where it's basically a custom job. But for a competition race car, that's ideal, especially for the hill climb.
Right.
Even though there's a lot of ice and stuff up top, because of the altitude, but especially with turbocharged engine, it gets really hot up there.
Crazy.
So thin air, you almost lose like half of the horsepower going up.
Right, 14,000 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Explain the differences between that 2J and this 2J on this JDM Supra. There's a JDM Supra, it's a right-hand drive.
Right-hand drive Supra from Top Rank. It's actually Brian's personal car.
Okay.
We asked him to come out, and he has some of Greddy components that he's been putting together, and he's trying to build this up to make it more a period correct setup for the JZA80 Supra, twin turbo setup. He's going to start cleaning this up and restoring under the hood, but he's putting the right components to make it period correct. But the difference basically is he has a full build 2JZ. They're both non-VVTi, so it's the original Supra engine, but fully built, single turbo upgrade, big horsepower. This is more of a showroom spec 2JZ with stock sequential twin turbo setup.
Right.
Intake manifold is original as well. So his goal is to kind of keep it stock, but with some of the key upgrades.
You guys have been making parts for the 2J for how long now?
Well, some of these kits are from back in the day in the mid 90s. So it's been a while. 25 plus years.
Crazy.
But yeah, we updated over the years. Some of the intercooler construction's a little bit different. We do use the tube and fin type, but if you could zoom up into the tube, it has more of an aerodynamic shape to the tube, so it cuts the air through better. So you got good flow going across through the core into the radiator. So that's a key point for getting the cooling to even the radiator. So there's a lot of different intercoolers out there, but for example, like a bar and plate, it's almost like a wall, and you don't get that much good airflow behind it. So we do design something like this where you could get the max efficiency out of like a street car or track car. It all depends on the application and the purpose of the vehicle and the build. The differences between the 2J and RB, they're both, inline six. One comes from the Supra. And one's out of a GTR. And there's a lot of discussion which is better. I mean, I think here in America, I think the 2J is more popular. I think more because of the availability of the engine compared to the RBs. If you're working on a Nissan, I would put RB26. And if you're working on a Toyota and putting like a swap and looking into putting like an inline 6, I would put a 2J. That's just me, you know, just kind of keep it, you know, more authentic. Even though, you know, an engine like this, RB26 on a 240Z is not what's, you know, comes in the car, but if you're building like a resto mod type of build like this is,
SR20、透明ストローカー 2.2、H ケースピストン、その他まあ適当なパーツでやってます。でタービンもトラックのタービンかな、なんかよくわかんないもんごちゃごちゃっとつけて、だいたい馬力はブースト 1.3 で500馬力。
Yeah, why put a 2J in here?
Right.
I mean, we could make really great power with a 2J and it's easier, I think. But RB26 out of a GTR is more fitting, you know, as far as all the technical spec and how much you could make horsepower wise. I mean, we could make similar horsepower with both. Some are easier than others, like the 2J seems to be a little bit easier to make that with, you know, and also the torque. But I mean, overall, like if you're not making like a competition spec vehicle and building something like this where it's going to be street driven, then, you know, Nissan engine in a Nissan or Datsun, you know, and if you're building like, for example, like the FRS that we saw, putting a Toyota engine in a Toyota chassis makes more sense, I think.
What cost difference between building the 2J and RB at the same spec? Which one's more expensive?
About the same. I
Really?
mean, you're talking about the valve train. You're still addressing the 6-cylinder.
Right.
So you're putting the same amount of components in the valve train, the piston, rods. So the crank itself, if we're making a billet crank, the cost is pretty much similar. The length is the same. So there's not much cost difference. I think maybe acquiring and finding the core for that becomes the price difference. I think 2J, even though today it's getting more expensive because everybody's buying that up, but RB even today is somewhat hard to get. All right, so now we have the R32 here. This is actually Dustin Williams' personal car. He's been working on this. Also, you know, GTR has the RB26, but single turbo upgrade. So it's a fully built, you know, high performance setup. He's still working on it, and actually we're working on the complete engine package for this. So stay tuned for that. But it has our intake manifold that converts the ITBs into one big single throttle for more response, and for the big build, it's ideal. Has our Greddy intercooler, but you know, from 32 to 33, 34, the base engine is very similar. The block and, you know, the cylinder head design basically share the same design. Once you're starting to build it, it really doesn't matter as long as, you know, the core is good. But with you know, it's single turbo upgrade is pretty popular, but you know, it's I think the personal preference as well.
What's the difference between the two?
You know, I like the twin setup for more mid-range power, where you're trying to get the peak power. The single turbo is more popular. It's more simple, and the whole packaging is more cleaner than trying to fit two big turbos on there.